Hello and welcome to Fresh Face One Shots. My name is Joey.
And I'm Jacob.
And today we are back once again with our annual coverage of DC Comics' Pride Anthology for Pride 2025. Today joining us, as they always do, for our DC Pride coverage, Liliana.
Hi, I'm the gay one.
It's true. We have to have an obligatory gay here.
I'm the token.
I was gonna say, aren't all our guests just tokens in a way?
I'm being taken advantage of for my identity to make this more valid.
Absolutely. It's the only way we can pass this month. All right. We had a bit of a different Pride anthology this year, which it's not even really an anthology. I usually refer to it as the Pride anthology, but it's not even really that. It is just the Pride special. It is mostly all one story called The Heart Wants. Written by a variety of writers, taking on various segments of the story. There is also a different story at the end called Master Planner by Jenny Blake, which is lovely. But yeah, for the most part, most of the 100 pages that this issue is one story. And I think for that reason, this might be my favorite DC Pride release, at least in recent years. It's my favorite one that I've read, at least.
100%, yeah. I really, really enjoyed this one.
I'm also glad that they're continuing the let's have a creative who has some sort of a long history with DC write their own personal story at the end.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where I didn't even know that Jenny Blake had recently come out. This is obviously a very recent revelation, and I think that's awesome. I learned by reading this issue that she'd recently come out. I think that's super cool. So yeah, I guess let's jump right into this with The Heart Wants. So I'm guessing, as I've understood it, the framing of the story is at least done by Tim Sheridan. Who seems to be on the framing here with Alan Scott and sort of taking on all these sort of between segments. At least that's how I'm understanding it, is that it seems to be the split up whenever it cuts away from that to different characters, that's when other writers and artists take over. But Tim Sheridan and Emilio, I missed who it was, Emilio Piliu, are doing these the main segments of The Heart Wants, mostly centered around Alan Scott here.
And it's like a sequel. It's like a sequel to the Green Lantern Alan Scott book that came out last year?
It's true. Yeah, I feel bad. I only read the first 2 issues of that, and then I forgot to continue picking it back up, and I I never continued it. But I intend to one day.
I'm not the person in the system who read it, so I don't remember a lot about it.
But yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, even then, I would say, Jacob, I know you haven't read it. Does this stand on its own well enough?
I think it stands on its own pretty decently. At least the framing does. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, there is the problem of sometimes we get to some characters who I am definitely not familiar with, because there is the rainbow capitalism thing of let's trot our LGBT characters out for Pride Month and that's it.
Yeah. Although thankfully, because we've been doing these videos annually for a few years now, considering it stars usually the same characters, we're getting more and more used to them as we go through them.
And maybe DC. I mean, let's be honest. They already did, I'd say, a fairly bold thing of doing an unabashedly pro-trans Pride special in the year 2025.
Yes,
they should give some of these characters books.
Yeah, totally. It's awesome, and I love that. Of course, it's fantastic. But yeah, actually, I guess sort of jumping into the story. I like the sort of setting that this focuses on. It's a sort of this club where a lot of these
old underground gay bar that is closing down after a long history, which that has no relevance to the current state of the United States of America.
Jacob, what you're trying to do right now is imply that comics are political, and we all know that's not true.
Yeah, I don't read comics for politics. I read comics to learn about the Green Lantern Corps and their horrible, corrupt, fascist leaders.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what.
One thing I really like about this is when I realized what the setting was, I was like, oh, wasn't this in the first Pride special they did a while back? This I think Alan Scott went here before.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. I forget. I'm not sure. I started picking them up from when they started coming out. But
yeah, I think I think we both started in.
We started covering them in 2023, but I had been reading them for I think a year or two before that.
I definitely read the 2022 one. We just didn't cover it.
Yeah, we never covered
I
that
think
one.
they bring it up in this book actually.
Yeah, they
Alan,
do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the last time he went was in like one of the Pride stories with what is it, Obsidian?
Mhm. Yeah. But then I also just really, really love the other stories that we start going into, like going into the history of this bar. I love specifically the Renee Montoya one early on here. I think there's a gorgeous sort of like visual style to this one, mostly because of the artist Skylar Patridge. I really, really love the art in this one. That really sort of like sells Renee's headspace. We see like Captain Kane at one point. We see Crispus, her dead partner, at one point. I really appreciate the way this one is done.
The disaster that is Renee Montoya as the question.
The disaster. She's amazing.
Sometimes you want disaster lesbians.
Yeah, I mean, and we all want Renee Montoya in our lives.
Yes.
I really like the art in this segment.
Yeah.
By Jordi Belair. It's very sapphic. It's very sapphic and like queer women.
Yeah, the colors are very it's purple and orange is just the color palette of the entire.
Oh, the artist was Skylar Patridge. My bad. And the
Jordi Belair like did the colors though, and like it's very much like that's a lot of like what makes this art particularly here pop, and I really like that. Yeah, it's a really great segment.
Also,
I like
if you look on, I think it's the second page of this bit. If you look, there's this bit where you see all like the musical notes and stuff. It's like lesbian pride flag colored, that little onomatopoeia.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even catch that. That's awesome. Huh, I like that. But also what I really like is how these segments sort of like bleed into each other really naturally. Sort of like going into like the next segment about Connor Hawke by Sam Maggs, which I think works really well. They all sort of blend really seamlessly, and it's something we really have to praise the overall special for. Is just finding a way to really make usually what the Pride specials do is tell these really disparate stories, but and each writer here is still telling their own story in their own segments of the story, but it's still sort of blending really nicely together. I think it really works. It's something that I found myself really appreciating about this year.
It means that
this is another instance where like a Pride story is like making me really, really want to learn more about Connor Hawke. I think just like everything, because I think he was in the last one too. Mm-hmm. Every time he shows up in one of these, I'm like, I need to read more.
Connor's great. I love Connor.
Didn't Joshua Williamson use him in his Green Arrow one?
Josh Williamson used the entire Green Arrow family.
I mean, Joey, we need to do more Green Arrow on the podcast.
We do. I know. I'm working on it, Jacob. I'm a bad host.
You are a great host. I think there's just way too many characters, and we physically have to do several other characters. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I know.
I will say, maybe the most annoying character is Stitch.
What? You didn't like Stitch?
The best way? this interesting clash of personality between Stitch and Connor, who is very serious, and
so is Renee, of course. And
here's the thing: Renee is funny, serious. Connor is serious. Yeah.
I don't know. I like Stitch. I like Stitch a lot. I've never actually read anything with Stitch before, and I really like them. Yeah.
One thing I was really worried about with Stitch is I was worried that like the whole thing was going to get grating, because I was like, oh, this is like Deadpool, but like no.
I thought it really worked for me. Yeah, I was a fan personally.
Yes, this is great.
Yeah. We also get some interludes that sort of like carry throughout by Jude Ellison and Jude Ellison S. Doyle and Josh Trujillo, sort of like following Ethan through these through this sort of like strange interdimensional landscape here, as sort of like things seem to go like not right with our different characters that we're following. Every character essentially it gets stuck in like this alternate dimension
of what they want. Apparently, it's like their heart's desire, like Apollo and Midnighter living.
I love Midnighter segment so much.
This weird parody of the 1950s. I mean,
oh my god, there's this one panel, I'm sure you both know which one it is. When we get to it, I need to point it out. It's so fucking
wait, okay, is it the sign that says Clannual meeting?
Yes, it is. Because like I skimmed the book before I read it, and I got there and I was like, oh, this one's gonna be special. I love that.
Didn't we also really highly praise the Midnighter story last special too?
Yes.
Midnighter just always really stands out in these specials. I don't know why. Just a great character, really great character. But like here, like Midnighter can't like wants to kill all these like racists and bigots and homophobes and all that. And every time he goes to kill one of them, they turn into a puff of confetti and disappear.
Not a puff of confetti, a poof.
Oh yeah, yes,
P-O-U-F.
of course.
Which sounds French.
But yeah, no, it is essentially a world in which Midnighter is surrounded by people that that he wants to kill, and also the other half of this being that he can't kill them, and it's very fun. I really love this one. Ethan does come here to retrieve them, and then we go into our Harley Quinn story by Maya Houston. I liked the Harley Quinn one. Didn't love it this year, but it was cool. I find
it dude in a lot of ways.
I appreciate that though. I do appreciate that.
I like the idea of if Harley Quinn's respectable, she can't be in love with Poison Ivy. Like,
yeah. No, that's something I really enjoyed about this whole thing. There's obviously like a bigger message regarding a lot of it too. But one of the main messages of it, other than like the big one, is that like as you go on throughout your queer journey, your dreams of what you want change. And so like that's something that Ethan I think brings up early. He says like even after my transition finished, I feel like my life is all about transition. Like it's always changing, and like you can see here that like Harley has kind of outgrown these dreams because now all she wants is Ivy. And I love that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I think also something consistently that comes up, and we saw it in the Midnighter portion, we saw it you see it here in the Harley portion, is I think it's very pertinent, and we brought up, this special being what it is in the year 2025, is that there's a heavy focus on specifically combating bigotry.
Bigotry and avoiding that respectability conformity, because let's be honest, some of the previous Pride specials have had very much like it's okay to conform what a straight person thinks the queer experience is like.
Yeah. There have also been a number, I think, of stories in the Pride specials in the past. I'm not criticizing those stories really, but it's worth noting that a lot of them never really touched on a lot of that bigotry. A lot of it was more just like, let's tell a story about these characters and how they are living their true, authentic lives, but not so much the challenges they face in that. And this special is so much about those challenges. And I find that important.
I think something I also really like about the Harley Quinn stuff that highlights a lot is, the whole like look at like the truth of this scenario and like the whole scam going on, scamming like mentally ill people. A lot of this special is about mental health in a lot of ways regarding queer stuff. And like I think part of why I really like this is that because mental health is like a really big important topic in my life, obviously, for very obvious reasons considering. And there are a couple missteps, like the way the word psycho is eventually used kind of gave me the ick, but I could tell it wasn't like intentional. But like there's a lot of this deals with like a lot of like mental health stuff. In this case, the mental health stuff, like the Harley Quinn bit, isn't really related to the whole queer experience part of things, but there's like another bit later that's really, really, I feel like heavily related to like the queer experience. And I think one of the next few little short bits, and I
Mhm.
really like that about this special in particular.
Yeah, totally. In Harley as Harleen being sort of like respectable finally, like her colleagues, she realizes do not like share her worldview, and like you said, there's the whole like scamming people for their mental health issues, and Harley still being separated from Ivy, and sort of eventually we transition out of that story into another one of our interludes as more of our characters are gathering from all of these different stories. Eventually to another Ethan interlude as he travels between these dimensions, all sort of bringing us back around to... I had initially thought that was when sort of like the smaller segments were wrapping up, but I was so wrong. They were kind of just beginning. Honestly,
I'll say I think some of the interludes might be where it gets the messiest, mainly because it becomes a lot and there isn't quite as much time to breathe with some of these things. Because then we get the Joe Mullen story, which...
Yeah.
Oh.
This I loved. This, I mean, first off, just throw anything Green Lantern my way, and I will love it automatically.
You are a Green Lantern obsessive.
Yeah,
true.
no, like, and I've never read anything with Joe in it before.
I've only ever read her in the Jeremy Adams Green Lantern stuff currently, which first off is fucking fantastic. But no, otherwise this is and still most of that is still like focused on like Hal Jordan and stuff like that. This is I think the first thing I've read specifically focused on her. I've heard Far Sector is fantastic, and I really do.
I mean, it's written by N.K. Jemisin, who is one of the most highly praised science fiction writers of our time. Like.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah. Oh, she is praised. I have not read a damn thing by her. I do need to fix that. Come at me for failing nerd, but I know she is praised a lot. I've had so many people recommend her books.
Yeah. But yeah, no, here we have John, Guy, and Joe. Guy and John can tell that, or at least John can tell that something is bothering Joe, and Guy Gardner is being Guy Gardner. But we get this fantasy then that Joe has where she meets Queen Nubia and they are in a relationship. They fall in love. There is this gorgeously drawn sex scene between the two of them that I think is just done so well by artist Vincent Cecil. I really love the way it's portrayed in this. And then the reality begins to fall apart. And it is so fucking heartbreaking. I really love the way this is done. As Joe gets literally, it begins to realize that something is off, but then is quite literally pulled out of this reality, and that life is ripped away from her. And it's just, it's great. I love it.
Yeah,
It's probably my favorite like individual segment of the entire special. I really love that one. So.
Sapphic yearning has to be in all of these Pride stories.
Of course. You know, I'm just realizing now that we're mentioning this, Dreamer isn't really in this much. She makes one small appearance at the very end in the second story, but Dreamer doesn't really show up in this, which I find interesting.
I think it very well could be we have a lot of like. DC has a surprising amount of explicitly queer characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also, didn't Nicole Mays just do something with?
I was gonna say, and Dreamer just featured in
Suicide
Absolute
Squad.
Power.
Well, Absolute Power, yeah, and that Suicide Squad run. So maybe, I don't know. I feel like that shouldn't really stop her from being in this, but I don't know.
I mean, it seems to be part of it does seem that it's like, okay, we're gonna be doing some stuff with characters who don't necessarily have a run right now in a lot of ways. Not entirely, but it's maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And also so many of DC's queer characters just don't have a run right now, and they should.
They should.
Or never have, unfortunately.
Yeah. Once again, need to read Far Sector, and I need to finish that Alan Scott Green Lantern mini that I heard was fantastic. But anyway, get another interlude as Joe gets brought into the fold with our other heroes that are realizing that something is wrong here and trying to fix these alternate universes. But then we get another one of my favorite segments with Blue Snowman. I don't know what it is about this. I really love this. It's literally Be Gay, Do Crimes, and I just I fucking love it. I don't know. It was just really funny. And there aren't that many funny DC Pride anthology stories, and I think this is a welcome breath of fresh air because of that. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's literally Blue Stone.
It's really funny. I think it tiptoed the line between like funny little parody thing and like kind of being a caricature of how some bad people view gay, queer, like trans people. It's funny. I think they did it well. I think it's really good. It kind of like has this air to it of like this thing I feel like a lot of especially like younger queer people go through, where they kind of really just want to be like the center of the community and be the one to like make the change. And the reality is that isn't the case, and so you're kind of seeing this through the eyes of like a kind of young supervillain who just really, really desperately wants to be the trans person.
Yeah. I think if nothing else, this entire story is so worth it for the one interviewer asking Blue Snowman, those are serious allegations. Do you do crime, Blue Snowman? Incredibly fun.
Blue Snowman is for they, them, and me.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, very happy with it. Big win. And I don't know, I kind of wish Blue Snowman got more chances to shine beyond this one segment, because I mean it's a great segment, and I don't know, I would love to see more with them. It's great. I don't know, just really fun stuff. Yeah, we then we start to move into our last segment here, which first off I need to immediately praise Don Aguilo's art here. It seems to all be done entirely by Don Aguilo, with like pencils, inks, colors, all this. It looks fantastic. I really like in particular. Possibly, I think the Renee Montoya segment just slightly edges it out for on an art level, but I mean this is still right there. I really love this one. Yeah,
this is the other one I was talking about, the one that really deals with like queer mental health, like what happens when like one of the cornerstones of like somewhere in the community just kind of falls away or is killed, or like something as a result of like anti-queer violence, and like how that can affect the other people in the community. It's really heart-wrenching to watch this breakdown, because I know how that feels. It's really sad. And what Ethan says about like you can't protect people if you just wall yourself off. You have to like if you want to protect people, you have to get involved in a way that isn't just pretending like it's not all happening. It's really good, and it's really, I don't know, it hits hard and close to home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was a big fan of I mean, again, I don't think there was a single segment I disliked this entire anthology. Again, I keep saying anthology. It's not an anthology. It really is all.
It's a special. It's a special. It's one story, and
I'm just so used to saying anthology, Jacob. I just am.
Well, here's the thing. I also think it's still technically marketed as an anthology, even if.
I mean, if for nothing else, the sheer number of queer writers and artists that work on it, I think that
are all coming together and making something like this. A story like this could have crashed and burned pretty easily just from having too many writers and too many distinct voices, but it doesn't.
Yeah, because it's the first time they ever tried a single story during the Pride special, and I think it's been done really well. But as Bunker gets pulled into our group of other heroes here, including Catman, who also does not get much spotlight in this special, and I would love to see more Catman, because I remember loving the Catman story last year. But
wait, I gotta say this. He calls them twinks.
He does.
Not what a twink looks like.
He actually does.
Like that. Actually, no, Bunker's kind of a twink. Even is not.
I love it. But yeah, we then start to go into the final individual segment of this story, which is our actual Alan Scott one, the bookend done by Tim Sheridan here. first off, I love the choice to portray this universe for Alan, done entirely in like greens and whites. Once again, we have Guilio. I'm not going to try that last name. I apologize. I can't.
I'm gonna say Macaon. I think.
I'm sure you're right.
I probably.
But still, essentially the point of this being that Alan has created these alternate universes just so he can be happy, and it is heart-wrenching.
Once again, it's a meditation on grief and having to keep moving forward, because sometimes there isn't a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
But there are always people who can help you overcome your grief, and it's very nice in the end.
Yeah. This one really hits, and Alan Scott is the one that has to choose in the end to let it go. Unlike Joe, who was sort of like ripped from it. Alan here, it is him seeing reason and choosing to go back to reality. And I like that.
I think the way it also like frames Alan Scott as being like an older queer person who hasn't ever really accepted that he lived that life and kind of had his ability to live his life taken away from him for so long is really hard to read at times, I feel like. In this bit, you actually like see in the art, I feel like that he looks older and more rested here than he does in like the real like main universe segments where you see him. He looks a bit almost like he looks like a bit younger, I guess, in the sense that it's almost like he's kind of holding on to that stuff and he's not really letting himself live to like to be just like a retired old man. And so when you see these segments where this segment here where he's living his fantasy life, he looks his age, sort of. Well, not like exactly, but he looks older. He looks like he's actually had the chance to live and settle down, but he can't have that at the moment.
Yeah. I will also say, just as a side note, beard Alan Scott looks a little weird. But again, as you say, it does work for the for what Sheridan is going for, selling this much older version of the character. It's great. But then we do get our confrontation between Ethan and our Red Lantern towards the end here. I really do love how Sheridan sort of wraps this all up. Again, there's no specific credits here for the final segment, but I'm assuming that all this at the end here is done by Tim Sheridan. And it's done really, really well. And also, there's the implication that Ethan is somehow infected by the Red Lantern at the end here. That I'm curious to see if they'll follow up on. I could see this going into like another like single story Pride special next year. That'd be cool. Or potentially, or hot take. I know. Maybe we could just continue the story in a regular book that isn't.
Yeah, maybe
June.
maybe we should get like another Alan Scott miniseries or something. I don't know.
Please. And I guarantee I'll read the first one then.
It's so cool.
I know. I need to finish it. I need to finish it. I know. But yeah, that is the main story of the Pride special. But then we get, and I like that this has become a more common feature in the DC Pride specials, especially after the Kevin Conroy one a couple of years back. We have Master Planner by Jenny Blake. It is what you would imagine is Jenny's life story. Jenny, for I guess those that aren't aware, is a legend in both the DC and Marvel comic sphere.
Creator of Black Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's a big deal. She's kind of a big deal, and just recently, I think literally as of 4 months ago, came out
February.
as trans.
February 2025.
Yeah, came out as trans. There's an interesting point in Jenny's story here that I find fascinating, that Jenny still plans to write under the name Tony Isabella, which I think is really interesting, and that she doesn't consider it a dead name. It is still a part of her. She's like, I read a lot of great comics and did a lot of good things as Tony, and I like that sentiment. I know that's not something that'll resonate with everyone, but I appreciate her being so open and honest about that, which I think is just really cool. I also just really liked the art in this by Sarah Solar. There's just this really nice sort of like a cartoonish quality to it, and also I like the colors being chosen, literally being the trans flag colors throughout, which I think is really cool. So, yeah,
I think something I really like about this story by Jenny Blake is that like the whole vibe of it really clearly is like, yeah, she's been in the industry for a long time, like you can tell that this is somebody who's been writing in this industry for decades by the writing style, and in a way that's like really important, because especially with trans people, you don't really come across a lot of older trans people for really, really fucked up reasons. A lot of them are dead or never came out. And like, so like, when a lot of people think of trans people, they think of like people my age or like 10 years older at most. And like seeing somebody who's in their 70s be like out and proud and writing their story and putting it in a comic, that's cool, because like as a trans person, I've never really run into people like in like older than 30 or 40 who are trans, because that's just uncommon because of unfortunate circumstances. And like this story is really important to me because of that. And also there's this bit, it's like the third or second page or so of her bit. It's like looking at like gender swap stories from older comic books. And I need you both to understand how relatable it is, because when I was growing up, there was like the episode of like The Fairly Odd Parents, where Timmy's like, oh, I wish I was a girl so I could understand this girl I have a crush on more. And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with that episode.
Really?
And I didn't know why. There are a lot of like, there's a lot of media like that, where like a gender swap happens in like an episode as like a one-off, and it's very, very common for young trans people before their egg has cracked, where they watch that stuff and they just become like hyper fixated on those specific episodes for some reason. And so like, while a lot of the way this is described, a lot of the way her journey is described is different from mine, not only because obviously we're different people, but like because there's like multi-generation gaps between my experience and her experience, where I live in a different world for trans people than she did as she got older. It's cool to see that like there are some things that are just the same, that like there were like gender swap issues of comics, of like Superman comics and Jimmy Olsen stuff that she read and like latched onto as a kid. That's cool.
Yeah, seriously, that's awesome. I don't know, though I personally cannot relate to that. I love that stories like that resonate so deeply, and even then, like, a story like this still hits incredibly hard for someone like me that cannot personally relate to that experience. I love that. Something, and if Jacob would stop boxing his microphone.
I just nearly fell out of my chair. Shut up. We're fine. We're cool.
Get fucked.
Amazing. But I do love also that this Pride special ends with, for the first time in the DC Pride specials, stories and submissions from people, from fans of the DC Pride specials, sharing their own stories. There's a segment at the end called DC Pride in Your Own Words, and I really love that. I didn't get a chance to read through all of them, but I love that is even a segment here, and I hope that continues into future specials. I absolutely love that. Giving people the opportunity to share their stories, and share how much issues like this mean to them, and I think that's great. So that is DC Pride 2025, another year in the books of gays, I suppose. The
book of gays,
and thus we close the book of gays for another year.
It's a go home.
Any and all closing thoughts on this year's Pride anthology?
I really liked that there is now a trans character who is part of the Alan Scott Green Lantern mythology. That's cool as fuck. I'm so happy about that. Alan Scott's my favorite Green Lantern.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so cool. I'm also just a huge Alan Scott fan. Though of course, Hal Jordan, my beloved. But aside from that, I love Alan Scott. Any final thoughts from you, Jacob?
No, I think it's good. I think it's more bold than the other specials in a lot of ways, and I think that's important right now.
Definitely.
I mean, DC, give some of these characters ongoings, please.
Please. The Alan Scott Green Lantern mini was between last year's special and this one, so at least we had something in between.
I know. I also looked up. Dreamer's currently in the Secret Six.
That's right. That's the thing. I couldn't think of Secret Six. That's right. Is Nicole Maines writing that? I'm pretty sure she is.
I didn't check.
God damn it. Anyway, well, anytime Dreamer shows up in something, it's usually written by Nicole Maines. So
yes.
That. But yeah, I guess sort of beginning to close this out. Lilania, I want to thank you once again for coming on to this year's coverage of the DC Pride special.
Thank you for having me. We're all of us in the system are always happy to join in on this stuff.
And I know you'll be back on the podcast post episode 100.
Absolutely.
For some Marvel stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up there, and I guess that about does it. I guess in the meantime, check out the other non-gay fresh-faced one shots we do. We cover Superman by Joshua Williamson, Wonder Woman by Tom King, Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, The End of the Long Halloween Saga. We recently started covering Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman by Tom King, tying into our Wonder Woman readings. We're also covering The Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone, and if that's it for one shots. Also check out the main podcast, Fresh Face Comics. We recently put in an episode on the DC Comics event Final Crisis, and coming up in the nearest future, we are putting out an episode on Batman Battle for the Cowl. We're having Kian back on for that episode. And then we're continuing to count down to episode 100, which is going to be fucking insane. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for episode 100.
Utter madness.
Totally. As always, I'll leave socials and everything, link trees and all that down in the description below. I can't speak. I'm so tired today.
Did you sound like a vampire? What was that?
I can't speak. The description below will have our socials and link trees and everything that you can find us on. If you want to follow us or you want to follow us, it is greatly appreciated. As well as subscribing to the channel, Blood Donut Studios, and support is greatly appreciated. As well as the Blood Donut Studios Patreon. You can get all kinds of fun stuff there. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan,
Jacob Licklider,
and Liliana Scott.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.